Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Junkies. I'm Thomas McWalter, along with Ben Baker. And Ben, I think most of our guys must have hit the disabled list or something. It's just us right now. This is very unusual.
Yeah, we're looking pretty depleted this time of year.
Yeah, but hopefully we'll be back for the stretch run. We'll be all right. But speaking of stretch runs, the San Jose Sharks, as we speak, are in the middle of a tight one, which is kind of unusual, Ben, because usually this time of year, there are 4 games. As we're taping this, there are 4 games left in the season. We got a home and home with Dallas and a home and home with the Los Angeles Kings, 2 of the teams that the Sharks are fighting for a playoff spot. And usually by this time, the Sharks are in. We know they're in. They're looking forward to the playoffs. Now, it's kind of like a baseball pennant race. Mm-hmm. It's not over yet, and it could come down to the final days.
Yeah, we're both big Giants fans. This is something we're familiar with, coming down to the wire on the stretch run. So, hopefully we get these Giants fans packing them into the Sharks games. And
the Shark Tank does sell out every night. That's
true.
Yeah.
That's true. We just hope there's that mentality there that we're going to get in. Yeah.
But, it's interesting. I was thinking about this, Ben. It's interesting because, as months ago when we did our Sharks preview, remember I went around and I asked all of you guys, what do you think? Is this a team that can make, because you remember all the experts, the Sharks are going to win the Stanley Cup. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, and I remember our colleague Alex said, he didn't think they could do it this year. First of all, could you remind me, what was your prediction then, and are you still holding to that?
I'm not totally sure what I said, but I do believe I had them going in the playoffs.
I think
I am
most
such a
of us
homer,
did.
I can count on that.
Right.
I will say I thought the trade, I thought the Havlat half of the big trade that they made in the offseason was going to go a little better. I think Havlat has not quite lived up to what I was hoping for.
Well, he got hurt. He missed a lot of time with the hamstring injury.
It's true. An injury is part of it, but Brent Burns has been good.
Yeah.
So enjoying that.
Well, that's the thing. Let's talk about what's been going on in the month of March, because going into March, it looked like the Sharks had a good shot at a playoff spot with 5th or 6th going into March. They looked okay. And then they opened March. It was a 5-game losing streak and lost the first 7 out of 10 in the month and pretty much knocked themselves out for a little bit out of a playoff spot. Then got themselves back, but then got knocked out again. What has happened to the San Jose Sharks this month?
I don't know.
Hard to say.
It is kind of hard to say.
let me just say, before this month, let me just be a little more exact here. Before the month of March, they stood at 33-22 in the 6th spot in the West.
Well, I don't know. I think they just have not been winning games.
Thank you. No, it's true. They haven't. But and you mentioned Martin Havlat earlier. He did miss about 3 months of the bad hamstring, and at the time he was hurt, the Sharks were in the 8th spot in the West at the time he went down. How do you think his absence affected the team, or did it?
Well, he's one of the best distributors on the team, and it's hard to replace. Not everybody's good at that. That's my short, simple answer for that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, let's move on. After a 5-3, let's keep working on what's going on with San Jose here. After a 5-3 loss to the Ducks earlier this month, Comcast SportsCampArea.com, the Sharks TV station website, had a report. There was a report on there about the team being concerned about they're giving up goals during shifts right after they score. So they'd score, there'd be the shift, and the next team and the team scores, and the other team scores back. I talked to our colleague Alex about this. I've been preparing for this show. He didn't think it was that big of a deal. Do you think it's a major issue in just the fact that the Sharks even are concerned about it? Do you think it's a big factor?
I think it is telling that if the Sharks are saying it themselves that it's an issue, then it's an issue. So many things get lost. You bring in some sort of weird, obscure stats, and you say, "Oh, that's totally inconsequential. It's a really minor thing." But if the Sharks are saying it, then yeah, it's a real deal.
That was my thought, right?
And in golf, there's a thing where it's like, I don't know if there's a name for the theory, but a lot of times you follow a birdie with the bogey. You get a little too up, you maybe lose a little focus. And right. I think that could be the case here. It's definitely the case in all sports.
Yeah, no, definitely, absolutely. Okay, well, let's see. Now the Sharks, they were down. They were kind of out. Then about a week ago, a couple weeks ago, they beat the Ducks in a very well-played game. Came back home, beat in a game that I actually got to go to. It was a lot of fun in a shootout. Beat the Phoenix Coyotes. Then they won the next game and then lost the next two. And suddenly they go, because when they won after beating Phoenix, they were in the lead in the Pacific Division and had the third spot in the playoff race. Now they're back to ninth.
Boy, I'll tell you what, watching the broadcast there, it seemed like one of those issues where they were getting a little too high, and I was telling myself, man, I hope they can kind of keep a good head about themselves.
Do you talk to yourself often?
When it calls for it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, they were only in the lead by 1 point. Let's not fool ourselves. The reason you jumped 6 spots in the standings is because it's so tight. It's not any less tight now that you won 1 game.
Right,
And then next thing you knew, they're back in 9th.
Well, let's take a look at where they are right now. Sharks have played 78 games. They have 88 points, which is they're tied with the Kings. But the Kings have a tiebreaker, so that's why they're ahead of us in the standings. That's why they've got the 8th spot. We have 2 games left with the Kings. The Coyotes are in the 7th spot, and as far as the Pacific Division, the Stars, who again two of the Sharks' remaining games are with, lead the division. They got the 3rd spot in the playoffs at 89 points. So, can the Sharks again home with the Stars, home with the Kings? Can they do this?
You've heard it before. You'll hear it again. Win or go home. Maybe they're home already. Sometimes.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think
I have no idea what he's talking about, by the way.
I think they can do it. Yeah, you know what? You're right. Win or go home is a playoff motto, not a regular season. But
No. But in this tighter race, it is.
In this situation
you only
applies.
have 4 games. You still have 4 games, but in this situation, in this tighter race, I think it is. You can, in a way, the Sharks can control their own destiny simply because they're playing 2 teams ahead of them in the playoff race. So if they can beat these guys, they can secure a playoff spot. If they don't, they're done.
Yep. My only thought is if they lose and they don't make the playoffs, but they lose at home, then they not only don't win and go home, they lose and they stay home, so they don't have to go back home.
Okay, we'll have a cliff notes to Ben's comments that'll be out with this show, maybe subtitles or something. We'll do some cliff notes.
You're not following?
No, real quick, Ben. What is the key for the Sharks to make the playoffs, you think, besides winning? I mean, what's the one key that they have to do with the one player that'll make the difference?
Boy, I'd like to see it be Thornton, I saw it the other day. Too often I think he doesn't play like he's as big as he is. He does kind of command the center of the ice, but I'd like to see him attack the goal a little more. And, that's what I'd like to see.
Maybe Marleau. To me, only because you heard all those comments during the playoffs last year from Roenick on TV about Marleau being soft, and obviously as a fan, throwing your own teammate under a bus. What are you doing? But maybe he has a point. Maybe Marleau needs to step it up.
No, I'm not sure it was evil. He might have been trying to fire Marleau up, and I think he needs that sometimes. But this is a team in transition that I really like. And I think other teams in the Bay Area could take a cue from them. They see that they've got these star players, but that they're old, and before they get bad, they're already bringing in fresh new talent that's getting really good.
Right.
The Pavelskis, the Clos, the Coutures, and it's a team that's got, the ability to be a great team for a long time because of those moves.
Quick prediction: should our Sharks fans here in Santa Cruz, be buying playoff tickets?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. Right after the show, we're going to the Shark Tank to buy tickets.
Don't hold me accountable for that.
I will. I don't know if they
literally
will, but
accountable, financially accountable.
All right, we're going to switch gears here. We'll obviously go Sharks. We hope they make it. We're going to switch gears to another Bay Area team here, the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors in the headlines a lot lately just because of a big trade they made, which we'll get to. But first, a quick update on what's going on with Golden State on the court. Ben?
Well, they made a huge trade. Is that what you're talking about?
No, but before that, what's their record? How are they doing,
Oh, right. Well, I have my standings right here.
Okay, go ahead.
The Warriors do come in third to last in the Western Conference. They're 18 games out of first, and There's only 2 teams worse than them. So, you know, as
Well, at least
explained,
they're
when I
not the
said third
worst.
to last. They're not the worst. And Sacramento is behind them.
Right.
So they are the best team in NorCal NBA standings. But
Then the Kings, really.
that's not much to be said. There's only one other team.
Right.
And
Right.
that other team is not very good.
Okay, well, let's talk about what you brought up, because that's been the big news on the Warriors anyway. Obviously, the playoffs aren't going to happen this year, but the Warriors made a huge trade a couple of weeks ago, trading their best player, point guard Monte Ellis, Epke Udoh, and Kwame Brown to Milwaukee for center Andrew Bogut and ex-Warrior Steven Jackson, who they turned around. Then they turned around and traded Jackson for Richard Jefferson. What was your reaction when you first heard of this trade?
Now, this is not going to be a popular opinion, but I don't feel that Monte Ellis was the best player on the Warriors. I feel that's David Lee.
Yeah, I'm going to boo you right now.
Now, before I go further, I'm going to say that the second Monte Ellis entered the league, he was my favorite basketball player, period. I love the guy. He's one of the most exciting players to watch in the NBA, you know, right up there with the likes of a Derrick Rose, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant. You know,
Kobe Bryant, really?
that is if...
really, you mentioned LeBron and Kobe?
Okay, let's
Really?
say if dunking isn't that important to you.
Okay.
Because Monte Ellis might not get quite the kind of highlight dunks that some of those other guys and the Blake Griffins and
Okay,
so many more that are really exciting to watch. But boy, Ellis is really fun to watch. But he's a defensive liability. He's totally undersized for a 2-guard. And as exciting as he is on offense, he's hard to watch on defense. So in my opinion, it was the right time to make a move. You didn't want it to happen after people were saying, okay, this guy is not the same as he used to be. And boy, you know, I love Bogut. Of course, he's got the injury thing, and
Well, yeah,
I'm not a big fan of trading for injured players because you just don't know. And boy, Giants fans with Freddie Sanchez will obviously say that. And you know, we've all seen it happen before. You trade for an injured guy who's supposed to be really good, and they never get fully healthy again. And that's tough to take. So
let's look at Bogut's injury history for a second here. I mean, you know, he was Rookie of the Year in 2005, 2006, played in 148 straight games, and then he started getting hurt. You know, a left mid-foot sprain in 06, 07, in 07, 08, a broken nose and a bruised left thigh. Missed time because of those 08, 09, bone bruise in his knee, stress fracture of his back. 2009, 2010, lower left leg strain, mid-back strain, dislocated right elbow, notice how long this list is getting. Sprained right wrist and broken right hand. Last year, migraine headaches.
wow.
Left intercostal muscle strain, sore back, sore right elbow, a virus, and a bruised right knee. And then this year, of course, the broken left ankle.
I guess when they say the list goes on, it really goes on for a long time.
On and on. And on. But yeah, I mean, do you think?
Is that the never-ending story?
No, that's Don't Stop Believing. Journey. Do you? Come on, you're a Giants fan. You should know this. No, but do you think that the Warriors took too big a risk in this? Because obviously, if he's healthy, he feels, and the Warriors feel he can deliver big time and be the center, the big man center this team needs. Do you think it was too much of a risk, though?
Look, I love Crocodile Dundee. I like, you know.
I was not expecting that.
I like that song, The Land Down Under.
Yeah.
So you bring in an Australian superstar, I'm going to like the deal. Okay. But you list that injury history, and now I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
That about wraps it up.
All right, well, okay, well, this may be, you know, obviously a lot of Warriors fans very upset about this trade, and we'll get into that in a minute, how angry they were. But let me ask you this: at the time of the trade, the Warriors were only 3 games out of the 8th spot, of a playoff spot. So do you think it was right? I mean, you already said in the terms of waiting for Ellis to go downhill, it was the right time. But considering where they were in the standings, was it the right time to make the trade?
Well, I mean, they're not going to make the playoffs.
Because to me, let me just say, noting that they were only 3 games out, it reminded me of, again, a baseball reference, it reminded me of 1997, when the White Sox were only 3.5 games out of a playoff spot, traded 3 of their best pitchers to the Giants.
And how did that trade work out?
Giants won the division, White Sox didn't. I mean, you know, it didn't make the playoffs. So, you know, so that kind of reminded me of that. Do you think there's kind of a white flag? Yeah, we're only 3 games out, but nothing's going to happen. Let's move on.
Well, it's certainly...
Did they give up on this season too fast?
Oh, I mean, in the Giants' case, it ended up saving their season, yeah?
No, I'm just talking about the Warriors. Yes, it
Well,
did.
that's what
They
I'm
won
saying.
the division, but I'm talking about the Warriors.
In this case, we can look and see that, well, no, it's not going to happen. And, you could probably already tell because, the centerpiece of the trade is injured. But I do think it's the right time in the sense that they need to start looking ahead. I think they might be headed in the right direction. Steph Curry was certainly a huge thing, the whole development of him, if they can keep him around. I think it was a great move to get David Lee. Yeah. And, I think they need to build around those two guys. And, boy, there were problems with Curry and Ellis from the offset. And you know what it really was, I think, is Ellis couldn't handle the fact that, the Warriors were thinking, you're not a pure point guard, and you don't really fit at the 2 guard. And they knew when they brought Curry in, Ellis was going to be a permanent 2 guard, right. And he's just not a very good fit there. And he's not a good fit at point guard either.
Okay, you brought up Stephen Curry. Now that he's had the foot injury issue, he's had that issue. He's been playing while they weren't going to play. Do you think now that they're definitely looking toward next year, they should shut down Stephen Curry for the rest of the year and make sure he's healthy going in?
Oh yeah, it's what? How many games left? Not very many.
Right.
Steph Curry is centerpiece of your future. You don't want to get him hurt. I'm not saying lose the games on purpose to get a better draft pick, but if that happened, it wouldn't be such a bad thing.
Notice the way he's saying it. He's under his breath saying it, folks. He means it.
They could hear me. They could hear me.
See, no, I never. That's the thing, though. I mean, a little off track here, but I never, as well as we could use a top draft pick. Whether it's football or basketball or hockey. I never say, let's lose the rest of the games so we can get higher. I don't want that. I want them to try and win.
No, I don't want to see him lose, but. If Curry went down to an injury.
Way of thinking is what I'm saying,
It's not the right time to rush Curry back.
Okay. Well, now this was an obvious play. So let's talk about next season, since it was obviously a play for next season trade. If he's healthy, what do Andrew Bogut and Jefferson bring to the Warriors? How will they make this team better?
Well, Jefferson is a pretty solid defensive player, and I think he's got a good basketball IQ. He's a smart player. He's played for the Spurs. I believe he won at least one championship with them. He's been, on numerous playoff teams. He was part of those Nets teams with Jason Kidd. He's a good basketball player, and the Warriors need that. They've got a lot of young experiments, but they don't have a lot of players that have a lot of experience that really know the game all that well. Now they've got a coach who knows the game really well, and what's his name again? Mark Jackson. Sorry about that. And boy, I'd love to see Jefferson be their everyday starting 3. I saw Brandon Rush play the other night against the Lakers, and he looked really good. If he can be that player or close to that player all the time, and Jefferson at the 3, Curry at the 1, David Lee and Andrew Bogut, that's a good starting 5. Now, they'll have to build on that and get a little more depth, but if you have a starting 5 like that, then you can contend for the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned coaching. Let me, as we move on with the Warriors here, let me real quickly say, Don Nelson, former Warrior coach, just announced for the Basketball Hall of Fame. Congratulations to Nelly, huh?
Yeah, Nelly.
And another, like he's watching. No.
Whoa, Nelly.
Yeah, really. But, speaking of Hall of Fame, obviously Chris Mullin, also making the Hall of Fame, had his number 17 jersey retired. Real quick, give me a memory. You have a good memory of the old Run TMC days? That was, by the way, in case you don't know, Tim Hardaway, Mitch Richmond, Chris Mullin.
Oh, yeah, back in my day, I remember they used to have a special offer at McDonald's. You could get the Run DMC deal. Mullin was an awesome player. And, the same, Tim Hardaway is probably my favorite of the 3. Mitch Richmond, while he was there, outstanding everything. Great shooter, ran the floor really well. And, boy, Tim Hardaway is one fun player to watch. I have a lot of great memories.
Never mind. I was going to say when I was a kid, I used to wonder if he was related to remember Penny Hardaway, but he wasn't.
But he wasn't. No. You had Penny Hardaway with his little Penny in the commercials.
Can't have pool parties when I'm on the road. This is what happens. You know what I'm saying? Give me love like that. Give me it. I'm shooting basketball. Oh, yeah, baby. I'm shooting basketball. Hey, Tyra, you left your toothbrush at my house. That's you, LP. That's you. I know my spot, fool. You can't guard me. The Secret Service couldn't guard me. I mean, you can have a regular party, but you can't have any more food.
That was pretty great. But Tim Hardaway, completely different player. And
Okay,
It was
well,
a great time
real
watching those
quick,
guys.
let me get your reaction to this. The fans, obviously, the night they retired Chris Mullin's jersey, I was watching it on TV. I was not at the arena, but I was watching it on TV. Fans booed the owner, Joe Lacob, at the ceremony. Was this the right time to show displeasure over the Ellis trade and other factors? I mean, to me, the fans have a right to be upset because obviously it's been 19 years of horrible basketball, except for the one break in 06-07 with the We Believe, and they made the playoff and beat the Mavs in the first round. But I'm not sure this was the right time to do it.
You know what? We like to talk sports a little bit. We like to pretend we can put ourselves in the shoes of a general manager. But we can't. We've never been a general manager before. So until you've actually made a trade that was universally panned, not because you thought it was a bad deal, but because other people had a different opinion, then you know what? Maybe just step back a little bit and say people make mistakes, okay? Or even not a mistake. We can't even, it's too early to call it a mistake.
I'm not talking about whether the trade was a mistake or not. I'm saying, was it right for the fans to boo when the night was supposed to be about Chris Mullen?
Well, you're missing what I'm saying.
And honoring Chris Mullen.
What I'm saying is that...
I do miss what you're saying. What are you saying?
It's just, that's just wrong, you know? Like, you've never been a general manager before. Who are you to say that you're making a bad move?
I thought you were saying, okay, I got you.
You know, the fans, like... I'm a fan too, and yeah, you know, I'm not gonna lie. There's been times where I booed players on my own team, but it was they took it too far, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, the first boo, that's funny. That really is like that's funny.
Right, but when it gets to the point that Chris Mullen has to walk over and give him a hug, and then Rick Barry grabs the microphone and pretty much chews the fans out. Who I don't think, by the way, Rick Barry was the right person to do that. But anyway, I just, you know, I think. They'd lost. Like I said, they have the right to be angry. But to me, it was completely classless the time that they chose to do it because that night was about honoring their history, honoring Chris Mullen as one of the best basketball players and one of the best Golden State Warriors in history.
It sure was. And if you're a true fan, you've probably read a sports article or two before in your life, and you know that that article went from being all about Chris Mullen to Chris Mullen and a footnote about how the fans acted.
Right.
And that's bad.
And did you notice on the rest of the broadcast, because that was at halftime, they were trying so hard not to talk about it during the second half. I mean,
you know, who really wants to be compared to the fans that are known for being the worst? That's not us. We're supposed to be classy. To
me, you know, everyone during the whole ceremony, Mullen, the rest of the guys from Run TMC, Rick Barry, everybody, Greg Papa, everybody's calling the Warrior fans the best fans in basketball, and they are some of the best fans. I mean, this team has been crud for years, and they still sell out that arena.
Hey, a lot of people think that the fans were largely responsible for the We Believe team.
Right, and
I do
then
too.
Then they turn on. It seemed like then they turned on the team there. I just didn't think it was the right time.
Yeah,
but that's my opinion.
It just got excessive. People got caught up in the moment, so you know. People are going to do what they're going to do, but I didn't like it.
Okay, let's switch gears here real quick. We got the Final Four. Now, when you guys watch this, it'll be over, but we're taping this the day before the Final Four starts. We got two really great games coming up in the Final Four. Then we got Kentucky playing Louisville, and then we also have Ohio State, Kansas. Now, let me just point out that both these matchups, Kentucky did play Louisville during the regular season and beat them. Kansas did play Ohio State during the regular season. Kansas won that game. First of all, of these two games, what do you think is the best game?
I really like the appeal of Louisville going against Kentucky, even though, okay, I think the closer game is going to be Ohio State and Kansas.
I was just going to say that, okay.
Most likely, because Louisville is the kind of, you know, not a complete Cinderella, but they're a number 4 seed. They finished 7th in the Big East, and they still are in the Final Four. So they've been having the Cinderella type story, and they've got Rick Pitino, who used to be the coach of Kentucky. So that's a pretty intriguing matchup. But boy, Kentucky sure looks like, you know, the best team out of all these 4. Anthony Davis averaging 14 points, 10 rebounds, 5 blocks a game with a 63% field goal. I mean, that's the guy to beat right there. And then I think Ohio State against Kansas. You know.
See, to me, that's the best. That's going to be. I mean, I agree with you of why Kentucky and Louisville is intriguing, but to me, the Ohio State-Kansas game is so close. Just because you look, and I was looking over this stuff in preparing for the show, their regular season stats are so similar.
Yeah.
These are two tightly. If you look at this, it's based on stats, and obviously stats can be misleading. But if you look at the stats, these two teams are really tight. They are really well matched up. And this could be, to me, this could be a really good game.
Yeah, both teams won their division. Ohio State winning the Big Ten, Kansas winning the Big 12. Both teams have some real star players on their team. Ohio State with Jared Solinger, and Kansas with Tyshawn Taylor and Thomas Robinson. No. They're teams that are consistently really strong. It's got all the makeup of being a great game.
All right, who'd you have? Okay, when you first did the brackets, who did you have winning the whole thing? Is your team still in it, and who wins it now?
Okay, I'm just gonna be honest. I didn't fill out a bracket this year. I got it's the first time in a long time I haven't filled out a bracket. Just got really caught up following lots of other sports.
Really
now I have no credibility.
You have no credibility at all.
No credibility.
You're done, man.
That's incredible, dude. Credible loney.
Okay, well, did you have a feeling? Did you have a thought on who would win the whole thing, though?
Well, to be honest, it hasn't been my strongest season of watching games. So it's always in college basketball. There's going to be 5 to 10 teams that are going to be in it. Probably going to be number 1 or 2 seeds, and most of them are going to make the final 8 or something.
Okay,
I wasn't even that surprised by the Duke getting knocked out early because they've always been poor in March Madness, or at least in the past 5-10 years. But I was hearing about Kentucky all year long. I've been hearing about Kansas all year long, and I had a feeling both those teams would be here, and they are.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, to me, maybe you talk about Duke. I think real quick, Norfolk State beating Missouri might have been a bigger upset.
That's true. That was big.
In the first round or second round technically. But let me. Okay, my original prediction at first, because I was in one of those Yahoo leagues with Alex, our colleague Alex, and I originally picked Syracuse, but before the picks went final, Melo was ineligible. So I was like, all right. So I switched to Kentucky. So my pick, Kentucky's still in it. And like you said, they do look like the strongest out of the 3. But to me, the team that might give them the best run for their money is going to be Kansas, if Kansas can beat Ohio State.
Yeah, I feel it's going to be Kansas and Kentucky in the final. But I got Kentucky.
I do. I'd like to just for fun go against you and pick Kansas, but I think they definitely, I agree with you, look like the strongest team right now. I think Kansas, out of the 2 teams that they might play, are definitely, and Watts will be all shocked now because Louisville will win tomorrow. But but of the teams that might play Kentucky, Ohio State is going to. Kansas looks like could give them the toughest run. But I'm going to have to go with Kentucky too.
One thing about Kentucky, they've got 6 players averaging double digits a game.
Yeah.
They didn't lose in their league all season. They've only lost twice all season.
Now, see, this was a fun sports discussion. Hockey, NBA, and NCAA. This is a great time of year, folks. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on another episode of the Sports Junkies.